Hello and welcome to my review of the Eternal Battle, the second release, part of the 6th series of the 4th Doctor Adventures, debuting Cavan, Scott and Mark Wright to the 4th Doctor Adventures, which is incredibly exciting. And it's kind of incredible to think we're on the 6th series of the 4th Doctor Adventures, and this time they've gone for the season 18 vibe. I know I'm a bit late because I haven't reviewed the Beast of Kravanos yet, but I thought I'd start with the Eternal Battle, and I will do a comparison. Which is the better Sontaran story for the 4th Doctor? Is it the King of Sontar or the Eternal Battle? So without further ado, let's look how this story is presented, then we'll go to my thoughts on the Eternal Battle. So for the cover art, we've got the 4th Doctor there, Romana, and some Sontarans there being shot at by lasers, and we've got a dead Sontaran there in this lovely barren landscape. We've got the 4th Doctor banner there, the spine, and the back. So if you want to know what this story is about, do feel free to pause. And we've got the cast list there, and the total running time being 1 hour. Taking a look at the leaflet, we have advertisement for the next instalment in the 4th Doctor Adventures, The Silent Scream, which I'm looking forward to. It sounds like a very good story. We've got advertisement for Doctor Who magazine, production credits, and of course we have the reversible cover. And the disc art is exactly the same as the cover with that fantastic So what do I think of the Eternal Battle? Now, this was my most anticipated release for the 4th Doctor Adventures in Series 6, as it's by Cavan, Scott and Mark Wright, and if you know me, I love their stories like Project Twilight, The Many Deaths of Joe Grant. If their name's on it, you know it's going to be fantastic. And this is their first time writing for the 4th Doctor Adventures. And what a way to start. The Eternal Battle doesn't feel much like a Season 18 story, which is not a bad thing, because this, you can sort of interpret it as sort of Big Finish doing their own take on Season 18. With the music really having that 80s vibe, more so than the Beast of Kravanos. Part 1 of the story is literally all guns blazing, full of action, with the battle happening everywhere you turn. Some brilliant imagery of the Sontarans, essentially in this World War I setting, with them being in this sort of trench warfare. And just imagining the Sontaran squad sort of marching through the mud, and you think, wow, that just fits the Sontarans perfectly. Plus, the sound design for this story is honestly magnificent. It's one of the best stories for sound design. And of course, you've got a good old mystery with lights in the sky, and why can't the Sontarans see those lights? Also, what lurks in the mist? This story really does explore the Sontarans, such as their beliefs, their mindsets, their tactics. So if you love the Spudmen, then you definitely want to give this one a go, because it is a fantastic story for the Sontarans. And it's just a gripping part throughout, honestly, it's a fantastic part. And of course, it's got a lovely, traditional, classic Part 2, on the other hand, is when the Season 18 sort of line comes to the forefront with all this sort of science ideas, which just gel really well with the story. And, you know, Season 18 is regarded for being quite complicated with the whole sort of science ideas. This story is rather straightforward. It doesn't overcomplicate things with the whole sort of science ideas, what it's got. And it just leads to some very interesting twists, and this part just has a fantastic, great moral message about it. Now on to characters, so I'm going to start off with the main man, the 4th Doctor, played by Tom Baker. With this story supposedly being set in Season 18, you would think the Doctor to be rather sombre. It's kind of interesting looking at the 4th Doctor's character from being quite the humorous comedy chap in the Season 17, being very much influenced by sort of Dougie Adams, I guess. And then Season 18 is complete contrast with a rather sombre Doctor. But he's not rather sombre in this. He's very much his witty self, you know, taking the mick out of Link, and sort of mistaking when they arrive for the Lake District, and being adamant to take Romana to a pencil museum. But beneath all that, there's a temper and that explosive rage. As soon as danger strikes, he changes, which I just love about the 4th Doctor. But he can just snap, and I love that. But he can just change his mood. I just love that about the 4th Doctor. The chemistry between the Doctor and Romana is great, as they're very much sort of playful. So you could say that this story is when Tom and Lala's marriage was all hunky-dory. But back to the Doctor, we get a nice little reference to Ginger Pop, and a nice little Latin joke, and a lovely quote with him being the enemy of unreason. Romana, played by Lala Ward, is very much the same as the 4th Doctor, with her being rather sarky and really not amused by the Doctor's jokes, which is just great. Those moments are when she's just sort of trying to just be not amused by the Doctor. It's just fantastic. She's very much the one who takes charge of the situation, with her becoming a scientist and wanting to get to the bottom of this mystery, which leads to moments where she becomes quite nerved by what's going on around her. And she becomes quite aggressive towards the end because everything is sort of collapsing and falling apart and she just can't hold it together. And I just love that. You know, Romana, well, Lala Ward in this story is very versatile, but she can be quite sort of sarky and then just become quite aggressive. Just, it's quite interesting to see Romana at the start of the story and the end, because it's just interesting. And K9, John Leeson. Now, poor K9 had a few knocks in season 18, like Full Circle with his head being smashed off, and yep, this story follows that tradition somewhat. But before all that, K9 is very much sort of on guard dog duties and correcting everyone, which is quite funny, and is very much sort of the computer bank, really, of this story. And yeah, I can sort of see why they got rid of K9 in season 18, but hey, we all love K9, and John Leeson is snazzy and fantastic. Now, before I talk about individual Sontarans, I just want to talk about the Sontarans in general first, as this story really gets into the mindset of them. You know, what horrifies the Sontarans. The Sontarans very much have that Viking belief of glory in death mentality, and this story really explores that. You know, what happens if there is no honour in death and you come back to life. Yes, this story does have zombie Sontarans, which is horrifying for them because they're stripped of that glory. And there's a brilliant line, what they say, which really does sum up the Sontarans. You know, eyes forward, probic vent behind, which really does sum them up. Like I said, you know, if you turn your back, you will have a dishonourable death. Lenk, played by Dan Starkey, he is very much a traditional Sontaran commander with the glory of Sontar. But what makes Lenk interesting is he's battle weary, and he's fed up of this battle, which is very much a vicious cycle where the dead don't stay dead. And you generally feel sorry for him with him trying to maintain glory, but battle is battle, and he works really well with Romana. But on the other hand, you have Stom, who is paired up with the Fourth Doctor, again played by Dan Starkey. He's very much a better version of Strax, basically. You know, he's very literal, and I love it when he backchats with the Doctor. Just great little humour between him and the Doctor, especially like the ending scene. Before the story ends is just a nice little moment between the Doctor and Stom. What a name, Stom. Yeah, love Stom. Better version of Strax. Then we have John Banks, who voices Varn, which I think is quite refreshing to hear somebody else voice for Sontarans. I know John Banks has voiced for Sontarans in the past in the Heroes of Sontar, but I think it was quite nice to have two people voice for Sontarans, so you're not going, oh, which Sontaran is this? Because sort of sometimes the voices do merge, so it's quite nice to have another actor there to sort of bridge that thinking, oh, that's Varn, that's Stom, you know, that's Lenk. You know, it's quite nice to have somebody else voicing the Sontarans. And John Banks, yeah, we all know he's a versatile voice actor and did a wonderful job. Overall, what do I think of the Eternal Battle? Well, the Eternal Battle really didn't disappoint. I carried on listening to it. I just didn't want this story to stop or end. It was just fantastic throughout, with some great concepts, with a really nice moral message added for good measure. Amazing sound design, ranging from characters squelching in the mud to Sontaran blasters firing. One of the best sounding audios, along with a great musical score full of 80s synths. The imagery the story creates is magnificent, really adding to that bleak tone of the story, with the Sontarans marching through this barren landscape. And if you love bleak stories, you'll love this because it's got quite a nice sort of horrifying idea, you know, with this whole vicious battle going on. It's just a magnificent story. And we get some nice couple references, like the Great Vampire, which was thrown in, which obviously the Doctor and Romana would later face in season 18 with the State of Decay. And we got a nice little reference to the Brigadier about the Pencil Museum. Good old Pencil Museum. Honestly, if you love the Sontarans, then you definitely want to check out this release. So I better do a bit of a which is better. So is the King of Sontar better than the Eternal Battle, which is the ultimate Fourth Doctor Sontaran story in terms of big finish? I'm gonna have to go with the Eternal Battle. I just love it because it's just got so many aspects I like. I mean, don't get me wrong, King of Sontar is a fantastic story, but to me the Eternal Battle is just a magnificent piece of audio drama, that is. And it's just interesting to see the Doctor, Romana and K9 working alongside the Sontarans with a really nice mystery at the heart of the story. Honestly, do check out this release. So I better give it a rating, and it's very rare that I rate a story this, and I'm going to give it 10 jelly babies out of 10. It's a magnificent story, honestly, magnificent Fourth Doctor adventure. I just love it to bits. So I definitely would recommend this if you are a fan of the Sontarans, because it just explores their race a lot more, and it's just a really good story. I mean, there aren't enough superlatives to say how good it is. I mean, I just love it. So that concludes this review of the Eternal Battle. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on my next one, whenever that will be. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you whenever. So thank you very much, and goodbye.